Let me tell you a story that, frankly, should come with a warning label. Something like, may cause severe secondhand frustration and involuntary laughter. Seriously, if you've ever thought your neighbor was a pain, well, buckle up. You haven't seen anything yet. Picture this. Early Saturday morning, the kind of morning when the world feels paused. Coffee's hot, birds are out there doing their thing, and for a solid half hour, you actually believe all those peaceful suburbia ads on TV. That was me, standing in my driveway, barefoot, garden hose in hand, pretending I'm king of the cul-de-sac. My pride and joy, a 2018 F-150, black as midnight and cleaner than my own medical history. Washing that truck is my ritual. Honestly, I treat it better than I treat myself. Maybe that's the real confession here. Anyway, I'm out there, minding my own business. The sun's barely up, the pavement's starting to warm. There's that fresh, metallic, hose water smell in the air. I'm humming. Pretty sure it was Credence, because you can't really wash a truck without a little CCR in your head. Life's good, right? Wrong. Right at the peak of my domestic bliss, I hear this noise, this shriek. Not a car, not a bird. No, this is a sound evolution invented just to make men like me flinch. Like the universe decided, hey, let's make him jump out of his skin. And just like that, I freeze. Thumb slips off the hose trigger, water stops, world stops, and I hear this rapid-fire slap, slap, slap on concrete. I turn around, and there she is, crossing the property line. Well, not actually stepping over, but you get the idea. Her name's Mrs. Higgins. If you grew up in the suburbs, you know the type. There's always one. Nature's way of balancing out puppies and sunsets, I guess. She's in a bathrobe that looks like she stole it off the set of Golden Girls. Hair sprayed to the consistency of Kevlar. Wielding a clipboard like it's a badge. Those little orange flags she ordered online, still stuck in the grass marking where her property ends and civilization begins. She looks me dead in the eye. Hey, you, stop it. Stop it right now. I try to play it cool. Morning, Mrs. Higgins. Is everything okay? She mimics me, high-pitched, like a chainsaw trying to sing karaoke. Is everything okay? No, Jack. Everything is not okay. You're doing it again. You are stealing my pressure. I swear, I almost laughed. I look down at the garden hose, back at her. I'm stealing your pressure. Don't play dumb with me, she snaps, jabbing her finger at my house. I have my sprinkler set for 9 a.m. sharp. My hydrangeas require specific hydration intervals. Now look, I'm not a plumber, but I know my way around a water bill. And my washing my truck affects that how. She gives me that look like I just asked if the moon is made of cheese. The city main runs from the street past my house to your house. When you open that, she waves at my normal, everyday garden hose. You create a vacuum. You're sucking the water back out of my pipes before it can reach my sprinkler heads. My rotary heads are barely spinning. They're limp. Jack, limp. You ever had to explain something so obvious? Almost hurts? That was me. I'm an engineer. I know how water pressure works. Unless I'd hooked up an industrial pump and decided to drain the reservoir for fun, there's no way my truck washing is causing her sprinkler apocalypse. So I try reason, even though it's a lost cause. Mrs. Higgins, the city main is 12 inches wide. My hose is half an inch. There's plenty of pressure for both of us. Maybe there's a clog in your. She doesn't let me finish. Do not mansplain plumbing to me. And she shrieks it so loud, a crow takes off from the power line above. She starts reading from her clipboard. I kid you not, she's got a handwritten spreadsheet. May 12th, 3 a.m., you showered. My kitchen sink flow reduced by 12%. May 14th, 0 p.m., you ran your dishwasher. My toilet took 14 seconds longer to refill. And now, today, you're wantonly spraying thousands of gallons onto a truck that is already clean, while my florals gasp for moisture. It is theft of utility service, Jack. Grand larceny. I take a deep breath. This is my life now. Mrs. Higgins, I'm going to finish washing my truck. If your sprinklers are low, call the water company. But I'm on my property, using water I pay for. I squeeze the trigger. Water hits the tire, thack. She jumps back like I'm spraying acid. Whips out her phone. I'm documenting this. And of course, She's holding the phone vertical, narrating the whole thing like she's David Attenborough in a snarky mood. Subject is Jack Miller. Malicious water hoarding. Aggressive spraying in a residential zone. 10 minutes, she stands there, muttering, narrating. He's now scrubbing the bumper. Look at the aggression. He's mocking me. I'm trying to ignore her, but suddenly, flashing lights. Not one squad car, too. Apparently, grand larceny of utilities gets a strong response. Officer Miller steps out. No relation. He's a regular at this address by now. Guy looks exhausted, like he joined a force to fight crime and now spends his days as a playground referee. He gives me that I'm so sorry look. Morning, Jack. Truck's looking good. Shiny, I reply, just to keep things normal. He turns to Mrs. Higgins, who's practically vibrating with self-righteousness. Mrs. Higgins, dispatch said you reported a theft in progress and an assault. He's stealing the water pressure, and then he lunged at me with the sprayer. I have it on video. Officer Miller watches 5 seconds of the video, sees me washing a tire, sees her yelling, "Ma'am, he's washing his truck. He's 15 feet away. There's no assault here, no theft. If you're having pressure issues, call a plumber." I don't need a plumber. I need justice, she snaps. Then, her eyes flick down. The runoff from my rinse water is trickling toward the edge of my driveway, where a little bit soaks in her grass. 3 square inches tops. She gasps, shrill and theatrical. Look at that. The water. It's crossing the line. It's soap and water, Mrs. Higgins. It's harmless. It is trespassing, she shrieks. His fluid is entering my property without consent. That is dumping. That is illegal discharge of waste materials. Officer Miller sighs so deeply I think he might pass out. Technically, Mrs. Higgins says suddenly calm, which, honestly, is much scarier than the screaming. Under city ordinance, no homeowner may direct water flow in a manner that negatively impacts adjacent properties. That is property damage. That is trespassing. He turns to me, voice low. Jack, she's technically right about the code. If the water crosses the line and she complains, it's a violation. I know it's stupid. You ever have one of those moments where you realize the universe just handed you a very sharp, very legal sword? Yeah, that's where I was. I could have fought it. I could have argued. But something clicked in my head. Not the sound of defeat. More like the sound of opportunity. I looked at that little trickle on her grass. Then I looked at my yard, my roof, the way my land sloped down. Then I looked at her sunken patio, her pride and joy, about 4 feet lower than my backyard. I smile. Not a nice smile. More like the smile you give when you realize you're holding the ace of spades in a rigged game. Total containment, right? I ask. That's right, she spits. Not a drop across the line. Or else. Understood, I say. You want me to make sure all water from my property stays on my property until it's properly discharged? No runoff, no crossing, nothing. Yes. Finally, you get it. Officer Miller's confused, but I'm already there. Promise you, Mrs. Higgins. I'll fix my drainage. You'll never see another drop. She puffs up, thinking she's won. Marches back to her house, bathrobe fluttering like a general's cape. Miller leans in. Jack, just don't wash the truck for a week, man. Let her cool off. I grin. I'm not worried about the truck, officer. She made a good point about drainage. If I'm going to be compliant, I need to upgrade. He looks at me like I've grown a second head. Jack, what are you going to do? Just following the rules, I say. All the water on my side. She wants it, she's going to get it. Every single drop. The next day, I start measuring. I'm out there with a tape, a laser level, looking like a mad scientist with a grudge. I calculate. My roof is 2,800 square feet. We get 42 inches of rain a year. That's 1,700 gallons per inch. My house was dispersing that rain evenly across 4 downspouts. Democratic, right? Not anymore. Mrs. Higgins believes in autocracy. Then she steps up her game. A hand-delivered letter. Her nephew's the paralegal, so the letter looks official but reads like a Yelp review with legal threats. Govern yourself accordingly. Under it, an orange envelope from a city. Code enforcement complaint. Improper drainage affecting neighboring property. Guy from code enforcement shows up, Dave. Looks like he's seen it all, and buddy, he has. He's got a whole file on Mrs. Higgins. She's got a point, he admits. Code says you can't have a point source discharge aimed directly at a neighbor within 10 feet. This house is 30 years old, I argue. Isn't it grandfathered? Usually, Dave says. But once there's a complaint, the city gets nervous. Grandfather clause goes out the window. He's just doing his job, so I get strategic. If I cap this downspout and run an extension to the back corner, would that be legal? Dave grins. Technically, as long as the pipe ends 5 feet from the line, you're compliant. After that, it's surface runoff. Not your problem. So I call in reinforcements. Big Mike, contractor, friend, enemy of HOAs everywhere. I explain the plan. Reroute every drop of rain from my house to discharge at the back corner, directly above her sunken patio, which she dug herself without a permit. Mike listens, then laughs. That's evil. She threatened to sue me for washing my truck. Say no more, he grins. We're using steel gutters. Louder, more volume. She'll hate the aesthetic. We pull the permits, buy the supplies, and spend 3 days building what amounts to an aqueduct. Mrs. Higgins comes out to complain about the look, the sound, the music, anything she can think of. Officer Miller gets called again. He has a permit, ma'am. Let him finish. By Friday, we're done. Gutters so big they could double as rain barrels, all funneling into a single underground pipe, which pops up 5 feet from the fence line. And right then, the forecast says a storm's coming. 3 to 5 inches of rain. Saturday afternoon, the sky opens up. The gutters sing. Water rushes down through the pipe, hits the emitter, and bursts out in a stream that finds nowhere to go except, well, directly into Mrs. Higgins's sunken patio. It's legal. I triple-checked. And yes, I set up a GoPro. Petty? Maybe. Satisfying? Oh, you have no idea. Her patio floods. Water seeps under her door. She tries to sweep it away with a broom, like you can sweep away the Gulf of Mexico. She calls everyone. Me, the police, the city, her nephew, the paralegal. Officer Miller shows up in the pouring rain. She says you're flooding her house. Says you aimed a hose at her living room. I'm drinking coffee, officer. It's the rain. Dave from code enforcement shows up, too. Checks the placement. Sees my permit. Discharges on his property. Once it hits the ground, it's God's water. Mrs. Higgins stands in water up to her ankles, screaming for justice. But she demanded the water be moved, and that's exactly what she got. And the insurance adjuster? He's delighted. Turns out, no permit for her patio, and she insisted I reroute the drainage. Claim denied. She ends up paying for all the repairs out of pocket. 15 grand gone. And after that, she never yells at me again. She plants a row of hedges. I guess she wanted a little privacy. Or maybe just a barrier for the next storm. Big Mike comes back a month later to bill me a deck. We sit out there, drinking beer, watching the sky. You know, we could have aimed that emitter a little more to the left. We could have, I agree. But she wanted precision. We laugh. I hear the sound of her shop vac through the hedges and think, music to my ears. You ever notice how people who crave control always end up trapped by their own rules? In the suburbs, justice isn't about fire. It's about water, gravity, and a well-timed permit. So here's what I want to know. Was I wrong to give her exactly what she asked for, even if it backfired on her? Where's the line between standing up for yourself and going full supervillain in the name of code compliance? Ever had a neighbor like that? Or been that neighbor? Tell me, what would you have done? Because out here, sometimes karma doesn't knock. Sometimes it just lets it rain.
Cảm ơn tất cả các bạn đã xem video.